Well, welcome to another episode of Heat Treat Radio. This is actually episode number 109, and we are going to be talking today about a sustainability topic, specifically on electrification. And I would like to thank right off the top, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's episode, which is Kanthal and Kanthal Heating Systems. I want to thank them for their sponsorship of this issue. Also would like to remind everyone that in September, the Heat Treat Boot Camp is coming up. September 23rd to 25 in Pittsburgh, where you can spend 2 days and get 2+ years of heat treat industry knowledge. So that's it at heattreatbootcamp.com. Feel free there to go and register. We'd like to thank the title sponsors of that event, by the way, and that's Aerospace Testing and Pyrometry, as well as Control Concepts for their title sponsorship. So again, that's September 23 to 25 in Pittsburgh, Heat Treat Boot Camp. Register at heattreatbootcamp.com. And again, thank you to Kanthal for their sponsorship of this episode. So Art, I think just to give people a sense of your background, you're currently an engineering and communications professional for Kanthal, but you've been with Kanthal for 20+ years, and I think electrification project manager for the Kanthal Heating Systems is where you are, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct, Doug, for a little over 22+ years with Kanthal.
Great, that's good. So I've got a few questions for you. One of them, honestly, is I'm just curious. Is Kanthal seeing a lot more inquiries now about electrification than they have had in the past? I mean, is it notable?
It's a significant increase. So, but I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to meet with you, Doug, and discuss this, what would we view as a very important topic. Over the years, Kanthal has assisted many companies and industries with the exploration and implementation of gas to electric conversions. So, initially it was a demand from heavy industry. It's kind of an industrial term. So it's very large projects in the steel and petrochemical industries, and they're typically looking for megawatts of power, which is a lot of power. So, but over the last few years, we've seen a significant increase from other industries like air pollution control, calcination, and heat treating. And heat treating represents a great opportunity for converting from gas to electric. A lot of furnaces have indirect fire gas burners, heating tubes that then heat the furnace, so it's radiant heat, and that's primarily a big form of heat transfer for electric heating. So, and Kanthal has formed the last a little under a year and a half, has formed a new group. It's a global group within our company of sales engineers to assist all of our different sales areas with gas to electric conversions. So we saw that as a significant need, and our sales area and our customers were looking for more support. So that's the group that I had at Kanthal.
Yeah, and I assume the activity in that they formed a group. I assume the activity is up, right? I mean, it's just an obvious. I'm assuming, yeah. So what are the issues that let's say the bulk of our audience are captive heat treaters, right? Manufacturers who do their own in-house heat treating of some sort, thermal processing of some sort. What are some of the issues that they're facing regarding decarbonization?
Well, it's we see a lot of companies have global initiatives for sustainability. So it is not just an individual location where it's more of a corporate initiative. So and every facility, every location is looking to contribute to their corporate goals of sustainability. And we see in a lot of the industries, a lot of furnace production or heat process, they contribute significantly to CO2 emissions. So when it's, a lot of these companies, they have multiple furnaces at each location, and it's an ideal way to reduce their CO2 emissions is by converting from gas to electric. It's something that they can contribute to their corporate goals and objectives.
Yeah. Are they seeing is the bulk of the activity that you're seeing, would you say it's being driven by regulation or by efficiency improvements, or
It's
what's the
not,
motivation?
I'm not really a regulations expert. So, but, and there are a lot of local regulations where, companies are kind of being incentivized a little bit. There are some government agencies, in the US that incentivize customers to switch from gas to electric. Um, we have worked with utility companies. So that's something a little bit new for us, is that kind of coordinating with utility companies that incentivize their customers to provide electricity. I mean, a utility company wants to sell more electricity. They have a sales team, so they work with their customers. So, and it's just to help offset some costs to modify the furnace and upgrade furnaces to electric. So,
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
it is odd about the utilities. I've had experience with a number of utilities that are involved with the Industrial Heating Equipment Association, and it's interesting because they even have programs to help you reduce the amount of electricity that you use. Even though they're the sellers of electricity and they want you to use more, they actually are concerned with people being more efficient because they can't take the load. I mean, the amount of electricity that's being required these days is amazing. So yes, utilities, I think your point is good. The utilities are in fact providing incentives to companies to help them electrify.
They provide incentives. They have a few of the utility companies that we've had contact with and we work with. They have test labs where they'll test equipment to prove out a solution. If it's something that they can provide to multiple industries, they might have a test unit to invite their customers to view it. Um, they'll help source clean energy too. So if it's always important when you're converting from gas to electric, not just to shift the carbon footprint somewhere else by using non-clean energy. It's just you're just shifting it to another location. You're not really contributing. So utility companies will help to source clean energy. So you're when you're converting from gas to electric, you're reducing your CO2 footprint, and the utility company is providing you with clean energy that helps keep that, reduce the CO2 emissions. So, yeah.
So for these manufacturers, again, who have their own in-house thermal processing or heat
Well,
treating, uh, what are some of the major obstacles that they have to overcome in order to get to a point where they could potentially be converting from gas to electric?
and I think it's a lot of it is to deal with challenges related to the idea of change. Looking to it's how can Kanthal really help and assist our customers to change? Because it's gas fire systems work. They've I mean we're not coming in to say, oh, it's this doesn't work, switch to electricity. That's not what we're promoting. It's what you have does work, and it's then thinking of how can we improve the idea of sustainability and reduce CO2 emissions, and we can help you do that. And it's up to it Kanthal to explain that and to kind of overcome those kind of those challenges, and to prove it to a customer so that this technology does work, and it doesn't impact your furnace process where okay, switching from gas to electric, now I have to make all these modifications to my furnace and my whole production process to achieve the same product yield or outcome of their production. So they don't have to do that. So
Right, right. Does Kanthal help? Would you guys help companies do an assessment of the cost? The cost benefit analysis. Do you have that ability?
yeah, we do. It's a lot of times there's a lot of steps involved from converting from gas to electric, and in even order to present a customer with an electric solution, we have to do a lot of background work like that to to analyze their furnace process, to to calculate the amount of power really in terms of kilowatts or watts that are needed to, to energize their furnace and achieve their desired outcome. So it's not a simple, plug it into an equation, you hit equal sign, and all of a sudden you have a number. There's a lot that has to be done, and that's what Kanthal does. We'll run, we run a lot of calculations, and then we present that information to the customer and or the client, and that's part of it is, here's the return on your investment. So, yeah.
Art, are there any, let's say, I don't know if I want to call them fallacies or false assumptions or something along that line that you guys tend to find you run into regularly that need to be addressed? And if so, what are they, and what do you say to them?
It's really again, it's kind of going back to, the challenges to change really. And it's the main kind of, challenge to overcome is proving out that an electric heating system can achieve the same outcome as a gas-fired system, whether it's no matter what type of form of heat transfer, whether it's, traditionally radiant type heating, or even simulating a direct fire burner where you have all the convection. So it's just the flame is doing, and the heat is just transferred via air circulation. So you can do the same with electric heating.
I've heard some people have been concerned about, whether it be temperature range of electric versus gas fired, or the atmosphere in which the process is taking place, and the sensitivity of electric heating elements versus gas fired, things of that sort. Can you address that? I mean, let's talk about temperature first, and then maybe we can also address, is there any issues with, processed gases and things of that sort?
It's those are two, I'd say, temperature and atmosphere, and heat up rates. A lot of that is the demands of the heating system. So for electric heating, I mean, you can operate, you have very low temperature, a couple hundred degrees Fahrenheit, up to probably a little over 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So, and you can cover that entire temperature range with electric heating, whether it's a metallic alloy that goes up to a certain temperature range, and then we have ceramic type heaters that, like silicon carbide glow bars, moly disilicide, Kanthal super. So you kind of cover the entire temperature range with electric heating, and then you can use those materials in different modes of heat transfer. So you have different modes of heat transfer for gas. You can do the same thing for electricity. So when it comes to radiant type heating, convective or conduction, or a lot of times it's a combination of more than one, so of those types. So and then when it comes to atmospheres, there's a lot of different atmospheres other than just air. So I mean, you have nitrogen, hydrogen, there's carburizing furnaces, there's all different types of atmospheres that need to be controlled within a furnace. And electric heating elements can operate under all of those conditions. It's just up to Kanthal to assist the customer and help them select the right alloy or the right material. Some materials are better suited than others in different atmospheres. So it's just ensuring that you're using the best fit for that atmosphere. So.
I assume, I'm going to make an assumption here. I assume that your elements can also go inside of tubes if necessary, if they need a protective tube of some sort, right?
Oh yeah. So and that's in a lot of heat treat furnaces, you'll have, it's a gas fired system. The gas burner is firing into a tube. So, and then the tube is radiating into the chamber, and that's what's doing the heat. We have a few different types of heating elements that can just be, you replace the burner with electric heating element right inside the tube. So your same mode of heat transfer, it provides a high power output. So you're not really modifying the furnace that much in terms of its process, its temperature profile. It's you're basically just replacing the heat source with an electric heat source.
Kanthal stands as the leader in the development and production of resistance heating solutions, committed to accelerating the electrification of heating processes across industries. With a complete in-house production chain from melt to finished product, Kanthal ensures exceptional control over quality and uniformity. This integration is supported by over 90 years of expertise and a solid foundation in metallurgical excellence, allowing for continuous innovation in materials and products. Kanthal is distinguished not only for its comprehensive product range, but also for its dedication to sustainable practices and innovation in partnership with its clients. The company has a global presence, serving customers in over 150 countries, which underscores its extensive reach and capabilities to meet diverse industrial needs. Furthermore, Kanthal prioritizes R&D, investing significantly to stay at the forefront of technological advancements, ensuring that it remains a preferred partner for industries seeking efficient, high quality, and sustainable heating solutions. Choosing Kanthal means opting for a partner committed to progress and sustainability in industrial heating technology. So if you want to find out more, www.kanthal.com. Tell me, Art, what could a manufacturer who currently has a gas-fired furnace, what do they need to do to start preparing, asking what questions they need to ask, start preparing if they want to electrify?
Typically, when we're working with a client or a manufacturer and helping them on this journey, is what we say, from converting from gas to electric, we really put the process into 4 really basic steps. And it's the first 2 are kind of the most important to prove out a system solution, and that's it involves calculating the power required. So converting the BTUs to kilowatts. And as I said earlier, we'll collaborate with our customers to do that, and it's much more than just crunching the numbers. So you really want to analyze the furnace process. You're kind of getting a full view of basically the as-is state. What are they currently doing? What are they processing? What temperatures are they going to? And also perhaps even doing some modeling, well, not modeling, but analysis of the furnace. You're taking temperature of the casing to make sure that, does the customer want to make any process improvements? Is it time to replace some of the insulation? Can we make some recommendations to improve the efficiency of the furnace? So we'll do a lot of thermodynamic calculations, and then provide that information with to the customer. Okay, this is kind of the expectation, to achieve your throughput in the furnace or the specific heat up. It's whether it's a batch furnace, you're loading a product, heating it up, cooling it down, then pulling it out, or if it's continuous. So there's a lot of questions that we ask, and a lot of analysis that we do, and then we communicate that back to the customer. So it's not it's kind of all presented to them. This is what we would propose. So, and then after that, the next step is really designing the heating system. So I kind of mentioned earlier before, Kanthal's got a very wide range when it comes to temperatures and materials, that there are times where there is an overlap, where multiple solutions might work in a furnace. And it's up to Kanthal to recommend solutions for customers. And we'll kind of lay out as to, this is the ideal solution, this is why, this is the payback. We kind of offer, some customers and clients ask for CFD modeling. So the computational fluid dynamics. So you're kind of mapping out the solution using a computer. So it helps to reinforce the solution, to kind of lay it out for a customer so they can see it before any kind of decision is made. So they might have some feedback as to, okay, oh, we see that this is possible. Is there anything more we can do in the furnace? A lot of times we see a furnace is originally built for a certain process, a certain temperature, and over the years it changes. You want to get more and more use out of your furnace. So maybe you're pushing the temperature higher than when it was designed to, or you're trying to increase your throughput. You're you're putting more product through and pulling it more out. So maybe there's a chance to do that even more with when converting to electric. So, instead of buying new furnaces or more furnaces, maybe you can get more out of your existing equipment. So that's part of what CFD modeling helps as well. So it helps us to really present everything to the customer in the client. So, and then the last two steps are really kind of specific to a furnace. It's about, removing the existing gas system, removing the gas train, and which can improve the safety of the facility. Typically, gas burners are very loud as well, so there's a lot of noise. We've had clients comment that, well, I don't even know the furnace is on if I don't look at the temperature controller because there's no more noise from, when you're running electricity. So all of that is kind of specific to a customer's, furnace. And then the last step, these last two are very basic. Then you install the electric heating system. So
This is a loaded question, and I'm sure it varies widely, but do you have a sense, can you give an example of the time frame that it would take to convert any type of furnace? I mean, maybe one you guys have done in the past. And there's a lot of batch furnaces that our listeners would use. Yeah. There's also a lot of continuous, and of course, the size of each of those is going to make a huge difference. But can you give listeners a sense of, okay, from beginning to end, how long is it going to take for this process to convert?
No, typically the first couple steps take a couple weeks. There's a lot of communication back and forth between the client and Kanthal. We're gathering information, so you might have to visit a couple times. Also, coordinate with their utilities supplier. Okay, does the facility have the electric power available? Is it, how can they source it? To get it to the facility, and then there's also other components that are needed to electrify a furnace, like the electrical control system. So we have partners, other suppliers that we know and that we work with that are very familiar with supplying controls to the appropriate type of heating system. Different alloys and different materials behave differently when it comes to electric heating. So some controls require current limit settings and, some transformers, some not. So there are suppliers out there that are familiar with the requirements.
And so, you guys work with them. I mean,
yes, we do. Typically we work with them. We provide the client with the recommendations. This is what you need. So Kanthal doesn't supply control systems. Well, we do for a couple of our products because they're unique, but we tend to work with other partners to do that. So
gotcha.
The entire process could take a couple months. It's procuring and manufacturing of all the components. That's the longest part of the process.
Yeah. So yeah, and I would imagine it's very dependent. Like I said, it's a loaded question because I'm quite sure it's very dependent upon the process that the customer is running, how long it's going to take to validate the conversion and maybe do your CFD modeling and things of that sort, to really convince people that this does work. This does work. Yeah.
What's the size of the equipment too? Yeah. It's just the furnace. It's
replacing
fit it in the customer's timeline. It's when is their shutdown? It's, to do a conversion, you can't just do that overnight. The furnace will be shut down for a given amount of time to do a conversion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How about this is the question I asked you where you have to really be honest. Okay. So are there times when people should not electrify? Are there instances out there where this doesn't make sense?
There are times where a client might have a furnace that's quite old, and the cost to convert it just doesn't make sense. There's that they really need to rebuild the entire furnace because the insulation is is quite old, and it's losing its integrity, and there's too much heat loss from that. So, and in just the size of the system to try and fit an electric system into a given space, it just might not work. So typically we haven't really seen a process like that, other than if it's just, the customer has a used furnace that they've been running. It's, it doesn't quite match the process they're trying to run, but it's a furnace that they had, so they just keep running it. So, and it just makes sense it's more cost effective to replace the furnace with an electric furnace.
Are you finding that there are certain U.S. geographies where it's much harder to get people to convert to electric simply because of the disparity between gas prices and electric prices? Or does it almost always make sense to at least investigate it pretty much everywhere?
No, Doug, if you asked me that like 5, 10 years ago, I would have said yes without hesitating. But I would say we see there's no, like, oh, the majority of our clients are in this geography or in this region in the U.S. It's it, it's past it's beyond the point of, okay, just looking at the cost of gas and electricity. So it's well beyond that now. So, there's a lot of, you know strong arguments about, the CO2 emissions reduction, and, safety, and the environmental aspects and benefits when it comes to sustainability that are really being driven on a corporate level now. So, especially in the U.S., which is a newer trend. So,
Yes, it is. Yeah, we tend to, as everybody knows, we tend to lag Europe in these things, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but that is the case. I do have I want to back up a little bit on the equipment and ask you a question about maintenance.
okay.
Because one of the advantages I've heard is that there's potentially a significant advantage with maintenance and upkeep of electrical equipment versus combustion equipment. Because as you mentioned, combustion tends to be pretty loud. That's because you've got blowers going, which are
Yeah.
spinning at who knows how many RPMs, and you've got, air piping, you got gas piping, you got mixers and all this stuff. So can you address any major maintenance issues with electrical systems?
There's a lot of systems like the example you brought up earlier, Doug, where you had, is it possible? You asked the question: is it possible to put a heating element inside of a tube? So, I mean, that type of solution. We have a proprietary alloy tube that Kanthal manufactures that goes to very high temperatures, and we also sell an applicable heating element made out of the same material that's designed for use inside the tube. So typically, when you put in tubes, you're isolating the atmosphere inside the furnace. You put a heating element inside the tube. Inside the tube, it's just air. So it's very easy to replace a heating element when there's an issue like that comes up. So you disconnect you do your safety tag out, lockout procedures. You secure power to the elements. You disconnect them. You can pull them out. You can handle them when they're hot, providing you're following proper safety procedures. And most, if not all, electric heating elements can be installed while the furnace is still hot. You don't have to worry about, thermal shock or overheating them, and they can be connected and run right away. Most elements too you can mix old and new elements without an issue. There's no performance degradation with the older elements or the new element. So,
Gotcha. Yeah. So maintenance, generally speaking, I think seems to be a bit easier. You would agree with electric?
Yeah, it's easy to store a spare element. It's easy to replace them. So,
yeah.
And typically we're shooting for life that's measured in years when it comes to an electric heating system. So, that's our objective. So, when designing a solution.
All right, coming down the home stretch here, I do have a question. There's been there's been a lot of improvements in technologies over the last several decades just to help with sustainability and things of that sort. Are there any newer technologies, materials, processes that you would like to mention that might be of interest to our captive heat treat thermal process people when it comes to sustainability?
Yeah, when it comes to sustainability and ensuring that that we're meeting the demands of industry, in the advert you had indicated that Kanthal, we do spend a lot of resources on R&D to continuously improve our materials, to come up with new materials within within a product, a grade, perhaps like new grades of aluminum disilicide Kanthal super materials that meet the demands of the industry. If we've seen an increase in demand of hydrogen atmospheric furnaces or nitrogen, so we're constantly developing new materials to meet the demands of industry. So, and a newer product that we have too is and we call it a Kanthal airflow heater. It's a very high temperature air heater that's on the market now that can be used in a lot of different industries, but a lot of newer applications that we're looking into. We've seen customers wanting to duplicate or mimic the performance of a direct fire gas burner. So it's just a flame firing heat. It's all convective heat into a combustion chamber. So we've had some applications where customers want to duplicate that with using electric heating. So
yeah, what's the temperature? Do you know the temperature range on that thing?
I can list it in degrees centigrade. It goes up to about 1100 to 1200 degrees centigrade.
Gotcha. Okay, plenty good. Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah. So I interrupted you. Any other new technologies or processes?
no, that's it. A lot of newer materials. It's always really pushing the materials that we have on the market. So looking for higher temperatures, higher power outputs. So
good. All right, Art. Thank you very much. That's great. Last thing. Anything else that manufacturers who have their own in-house thermal processing or heat treating, any other encouragements you'd like to give to them, or any other thoughts you'd like to share with them when it comes to sustainability as far as gas conversion to electric?
Well, it's just keep in mind that you can convert from gas to electric. There's just and Kanthal can help you do that. We can assist you and collaborate with you to analyze your process and come up with recommendations.
Yeah. Do you know? And again, this is kind of a tack on question here at the end, because I was just thinking about this.
Sure.
Is Kanthal involved in any way with reliability of the power grid? Are they doing anything to help? I mean, it's kind of outside scope of Kanthal. I realize you're, manufacturers, but the reliability of electricity is a critical thing for people to convert. And I'm just wondering if Kanthal is doing anything, or to help utilities or anything of that sort make that supply of electricity more reliable.
Well, Kanthal does. We are involved with providing heating systems to various industries that are making clean energy, like the solar industry, wind turbines. So, there are companies looking at energy storage. That's in the past that was really a more of a theoretical type of ideas to how to really come up with an ideal energy storage type application, but there's more and more companies looking at that, exploring that, and developing proven technologies that work. So
yeah. Good. Fair enough. All right. Well, Art, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, just thank you for having me, Doug.
We hope everyone has enjoyed listening to today's episode with Art Moslow from Kanthal Heating Systems. And we want to thank Kanthal again, Art, you and Kanthal, for sponsoring this episode. You can find out more about Kanthal at kanthal.com. If you don't mind, give Heat Treat Radio a 5-star review or a like on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Podbean, or our website. anywhere you listen to your podcasts. Any type of positive review would be helpful. If you'd like to contact Art or Kanthal Heating Systems, we should have up on the screen at this point contact information. Also, let us know if you'd like to hear something on a specific topic for Heat Treat Radio. We're more than happy to take suggestions on different types of topics that should be dealt with here. You can email that to me at doug@heattreattoday.com. Also want to remind you that the Heat Treat Bootcamp is coming up in September 23 to 25. And again, that's 2 years of industry knowledge in about 2 days. That's September 23 to 25 in Pittsburgh. And we want to thank our title sponsors for that, ATP, Aerospace Testing and Pyrometry and Control Concepts. You can register for boot camp at heattreatbootcamp.com. So this and every other episode of Heat Treat Radio is the sole property of Heat Treat Today and may not be reproduced in part or in whole without advance written permission from Heat Treat Today. I'm your host, Doug Glenn. Thank you very much for listening.